Firstly, just give us your reaction after the announcement of the numbers yesterday.
It's always sad that we announce these fatalities around about the end of the festive season. People don't seem to realize that this road fatalities and road carnage takes place on a daily basis in South Africa. It just gets sensationalized round about the festive season. And it's very, very sad. But what is particularly disturbing to see is that we're talking about a reduction in road crashes, yet there seems to be an unnatural reduction in the 8-day period from the 31st until the 7th of January this year, where we suddenly went down to like 24 deaths a day, compared to the average that had prevailed through December of 39 per day. So it just seems strange, especially in light of the fact that there were a number of high fatality collisions during that period. Yeah. And the only thing that one can actually attribute that to is possibly that SABC is not recording the information at the time as they should be. And this is one of the weaknesses that we have, unfortunately, with respect to road death statistics in our country. It's unrealistic of us to think that this is going to be the final tally. We need to remember that some people are still coming back from holiday. So next week, Tuesday, when the figures are announced again, I think we're going to see a sharp rise in those figures. And obviously, we have to monitor these for a period of 30 days for people who were seriously injured in these collisions, who might die in hospital in the meantime.
So you're saying and thinking that the numbers sort of fluctuate and it's not 100% accurate?
No, it never has been and it never will be.
How do you address this?
Well, the thing is that I think our methodology that we're using in South Africa in order to gather road death statistics is flawed. The fact is that the CSIR called a workshop in the middle part of last year where all the stakeholders were invited and they actually offered to take over monitoring of road deaths and road crashes. Nothing's happened with that. And unfortunately, we're still relying on data that comes from SABC. Now, you've got to remember that not all police stations are efficient and they may not record a fatality as a culpable homicide before the actual time required. So what you end up with is skewed statistics getting put out there.
Just on the screen there, if you have a look, we've got, I think that's your initiative, the Carnage counter.
Yes.
Tell us about the Carnage counter, how it worked, and what sort of methodology you've got behind it.
Okay, there are a number of different algorithms that are operating here in order to give you this live Carnage counter, which also has a rand value attached to it because some people only think in rands and cents, which is rather sad. But essentially, it's based on the figures that are provided by the National Mortality Statistics. So these are bodies in mortuaries. They're not the 13,000 odd fatalities that you get told about. These are actual dead people. Injuries are another big thing that people never take into account. The Road Accident Fund settled 150,000 claims last year. We need to understand those are injured people. We don't have a minor little problem on our roads. We have a war zone on our roads.
Now, people always talk about this time of the year, the festive season, things are especially bad. But if I look at the average, it doesn't seem there's much difference between this time of the year and every other month of the year. Would that be an accurate assessment on my part?
It would be. The fact is that there's a small variation from month to month. Okay, but essentially we slaughter around 38 people a day on our roads, and we need to remember that we injure 10 times as many. So we slaughter 38, but we injure 380 a day. And when I say injure, I'm talking about chopping people's limbs off. I'm talking about putting people permanently into wheelchairs. I'm talking about people who spend months in comas. You know, we need to start manning up on this thing.
Where does the responsibility lie? Because I drove down to Cape Town for holiday in the middle of December till about the 2nd, 3rd of January. And I see lots of initiatives by government and the road agencies to try and make the situation better. But the one thing that stood out for me was that the attitude by the drivers on the road were absolutely horrendous. How do you, as Justice Project SA, and I see you partnering with other people, tell us about how you see us changing the attitude of people on the road?
Well, we're not only partnering with other NGOs, but we are partnering with the Department of Transport. The fact is that law enforcement is one of the key issues here. If you allow people to act like hooligans for 11 months of the year, you cannot reasonably expect them to act like angels in the 12th month of the year. That's the first thing. So we need lots more visible and effective policing. And I don't want to listen to these stories about size mattering. The fact is, if you've got 17 to 18,000 traffic officers, you need to deploy them properly. You need to take them out from behind the bushes and the cameras and get them out there enforcing moving violations. Let's face something. The fact is that the vast majority of fatal crashes that have occurred during this season and every month of the year are head-on collisions. That means somebody is driving on the wrong side of the road and both people are not getting out of the way. Those are called moving violations, not stopping for traffic lights, not stopping for stop streets, crossing on what people like to call barrier lines, etc., etc.
Yeah.
We also need to address something very important here, and it's something that we are ignoring and we need to fix it. And that is the fact that you have now criticized other motorists, so I'm going to actually throw this straight back at you. How many times do you say to yourself, where did you get your driving license to people? Well, the answer is that those people, in a lot of instances, did buy their driving licenses. We know this for a fact. We know that between 1998 and 2003, approximately 50% of the driving licenses that were issued were irregular. That was 11 years ago, and we've done nothing. But now, let me throw this one at you, because this is a recommendation that we've made to the Department of Transport. What if, instead of subjecting you to an eye test and charging you a fee when you come to renew your driving license, we make you do a retest? How are you going to feel about that? You're going to turn around to me and say, are you mad? I didn't buy my driving license. Well, how are we supposed to detect who did if we don't do that?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I do think we need to test more regularly and have those tests. But we've run out of time, and we could carry on with this for so much longer, because it's such a pertinent issue in South Africa and so many people are losing their lives. Thank you for joining us, Howard Dembovsky from the Justice Project South Africa. Thank you once again.